over this weekend, and really excited to interact with some of the ideas and narratives that have come out of this conference at our home institution. Before we get started, I just want to defer to my co-director, Annalisa Brand, and Chris to give some closing remarks and thank yous.
Thank you, Savannah. So, as everyone knows, virtual conferences are hard. Zoom fatigue is real, especially when we are working in an environment that is supposed to be collaborative and also sometimes covers heavy topics because we're sharing our experiences. And so we just wanted to thank all of you for coming and understanding the danger of a single story with the first generation and our limited income experience. The College of Worcester, does have a unique definition because we include so many facets of that identity, because it's based on a US accredited 4-year degree. So we're able to provide and highlight so many different nuances that I think sometimes are left out of other institutions unintentionally, or just maybe not expanding the scope of experience. And that's really why we wanted to focus on this idea that institutions have to address individual case by case basis. And while we agree with that to some degree, we think institutions should already be looking at FGLI students with their other identities compounded, because sometimes the FGLI experience isn't the most salient part of someone's experience. And so it's still part of it though, and that goes into whole talks about systemic racism, capital acquisition, economic privilege, promotions, opportunities. And so that is the danger of a single story. FGLI students can't just have one center that focuses just on that facet or tenet of their identity. It has to already be thinking about a student's race, their religion, if they're queer or not, all of those aspects. And so that is why we based it on the danger of single story from Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's 2009 TED Talk. So again, thank you for participating and hearing more narrative-based sessions, which was kind of new to align with the amount of narratives and dialogues that we had. At this point, though, I would like to introduce Chris Lamb. As you all know, he is the founder of the Align Conference, and he's also part of the organizational team with Michaela Moses and Joseph Mendoza. So at this point, I'll let Chris share a few final words and ideas about Align in general.
Thanks, Annalisa. And thank you, Team Worcester, for your exceptional work this past year. So yeah, please, everybody, give them a long overdue round of applause. And I encourage you to round of applause them at the very end as well. It's hard to really feel the gratitude through the screens, but I really want you guys in the organizing team to know how proud and grateful I am for you. And I hope everyone can also force that gratitude through their screens as well. So yeah, that's really the main thing I wanted to say. But to everyone in general, I do also want to say couple other things that I thought were important to say after seeing some of the ideas and thoughts that came up during this conference that I hadn't seen before. So first off, first gen for life is something that I used to say and I used to sign off my emails with, but it's not just a saying, because as you graduate, as you get a job or go to grad school, as you get promoted, as you start managing and mentoring other people, you're taking that first gen game piece that you are and you're moving it to another space on the board, right? You're moving it around the board, and every space you land on, you can change that space, because right now you have some power. If you're upperclassman, you have the experience and wisdom that maybe an underclassman does not have. If you're an underclassman, you have the wisdom and experience that a high schooler does not have. That's power. There's also power in community. But as you get more experience and build your community in terms of breadth and depth, right? You forge stronger bonds with the people who are your friends now, and also maybe some of your new friends here this weekend. You get more power as well, which means you have more of an ability to change the space that you're at. And so, yeah, so first gen for life, not just a saying. The other thing is Discord action items. Like, I could not believe like how many ideas we generated, especially across the COVID 20 like reclaiming 2021 session, and the obviously the the state of the first gen low income um, like rapid fire every school's presentation. I still cannot find a way to describe that event in less than 4 words. But um, that sorry, I lost my notes. So those um, those ideas and action items I posted on Discord in 2 channels. So I encourage you to go after this session back to Discord and take a look at it and respond to them and add to them. Um, Afterwards, we're gonna post this on a more like on maybe a Google Docs or some place where you can also access it, and that's maybe more permanent. But in that case, it sort of lacks the ability for you to like engage more dynamically with it. So if you have ideas, you want to like interrogate some of these ideas, like ask questions for more specific things. I think this is your time to do it. Yeah, because this is just a single weekend. It's very easy for the momentum to get lost because we're going to go back to regular life tomorrow. Also, regular life is happening as we speak. I know some of the organizers and certainly some of the students here on this call have homework and projects and stuff to do that they have, going on in the background of this conference. So, yeah, speed is kind of the essence, but also it is a marathon and not a sprint. So the way I think of it is as maybe a quick step right out of this weekend. Try to like make sure you set the framework in place before you forget for how I want to build that community build that space, that physical space in my campus, because I saw that happen in Boston University and I want to like make that connection because they did it. I want to know how. Or because Longwood University, like, oh, what, like CLASP? Like, I want CLASP at my institution. Reach out to them before you forget and before they forget who you are. R20, which like was like the favorite thing I've heard out of this weekend. Like, if you want to get that implemented in your school, um, before Daniel forgets who you are, email him. All that is to say, just like stay connected. And yeah, the year has 52 weekends. This is just one of them. The work continues, but also yeah, take a break and take a nap and all that stuff. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna hand it back to Savannah now.
Thank you, Chris and Daniel in the chat. Just some standard notes before we begin our final session. If you would like to turn on closed captions, please click on the CC button on the bottom of your screen. It will prompt a small menu. Please select the subtitle option. We hope that today's event will serve many and that you're here with an open mind, heart, and good energy. Here at the College of Worcester, we do not condone any form of bias, discrimination, harassment, and/or violence. These expectations will stand in a virtual setting. If an individual were to harm another and/or violate the safety of another during this event, I and other members of the Align Committee are allowed to remove them from the meeting and report you to Align's Executive Committee. This may affect your ability to join future Align conferences, and if you as a participant find that another participant is not adhering to these guidelines, you may alert an Align Committee member, and we will make sure to take care of your concern. This session will also be recorded. Additionally, today we would like to acknowledge and thank key contributors to the success of our conference, especially during a pandemic and being virtual. First, we would like to thank the Align organizational team and the College of Worcester to host the 5th conference. The success and responsibility of Align is integral to sharing support and narratives. Second, we would like to thank Dean Shadra Smith and Dr. Yvonne Garcia for supporting FGSO and the College of Worcester with this endeavor. Third, the LCSA team and budget committee for providing honoraria for us to graciously compensate our keynote speakers, as well as Melissa Anderson for providing Zoom platform and licensing. Finally, a thank you to our keynotes, Dr. Troy, Dr. Ramos Santa, and William Washington. We would like to thank the Worcester Align team for their dedication in making this conference happen as well. Given that, I'm excited to introduce our closing keynote, William Washington. William Washington is a licensed professional clinician and clinical hypnotherapist, as well as a collegiate level adjunct faculty and counseling mentor. Graduating from John Carroll University with his master's in clinical mental health counseling, he is currently a PhD candidate for the health and psychology program at Walden University. Additionally, he received certification in heart-centered therapy from the Cleveland Clinic Wellness Institute with 5+ years of experience in residential facilities, homeless shelters, family restoration, interventions, community-based services, and working with at-risk youth. William can work with a wide range of individuals and diagnoses. His approach to counseling is philosophical, postmodern, and rather unique, meeting with clients at their starting point by embracing individuality and creating a safe therapeutic environment. He challenges clients to be themselves, and when it gets rough, he believes we should never choose the better choice, but the healthy one. His passion for your success is felt from the very moment he meets you. When he says, "I believe in you," he really means it. And with that, congratulations, William. Thank you for showing up, for dedicating your time to this. We're excited to hear from you.
I am so happy to be here. It's so great to see all of your virtual faces. I am just so excited to. I feel the virtual waves of life. It never gets old when people talk about you, because I don't believe half of the stuff I went through to get here. And I think all of you can attest to that as well. So one thing about me, I'm very unorthodox as far as how things go. So if you have any comments or any feelings that you may want to say, put them in the chat. I like to read what you're thinking. I love it. And it wouldn't be therapeutic of me if I didn't ask you to make sure that if you have your cell phone, if you have your Word document, to write out some notes. One of my biggest regrets is listening to speeches and forgetting what that dude said. And I was sitting there for 2 hours and I'm like, oh man, what did he say about it? It was like the 10th point. And I'm like, I wrote down 3, and so I'm not going to do that to you, I promise. But I want to make sure that it's meaningful for you just as much as it is for me, because I'm so happy to be here with you all. I am going to do pulse checks too, because nonverbal behaviors are a thing in my life. I live through 90% of life is nonverbal behaviors. And so I like to make sure that I'm always present with you all. So, you don't have to answer these questions directly to me, but reflect on them. The first question is, did you breathe today? We do not take into consideration how much a single breath can reflect about our own lives. So many times I remind, before we even get into my counseling session, before we get into hypnotherapy, before I do anything, I say, did you breathe today? I need that as a shirt. So yeah, I'm gonna need that as a shirt, definitely. So it's one of those things where we don't take time to recognize our placement in our lives. And being a part of Align in this conference is truly understanding where you are in this world. And sometimes breathing kind of sets yourself up to being present with who you need to be. So I want to begin this keynote with the first reflective question. What is your favorite story, and how does it align with you as an adult? What was the lesson? So what is your favorite story, and how does it align with you as an adult? What was the lesson? You could have never told me that I would be speaking to you all about who you've always been. For me, I grew up in a very traditional home, cultivated by Afrocentric ideology and patriarchal embellishment. So basically, if you watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I was a Carlton battling with harmonizing with being a Will Smith. So I found that through life, I was never enough of anything. I was never Black enough. I was never American enough. I was enough to be white and be claimed by white people, but not claimed by Black folks. I'll explain that on another keynote. You start to see the complex you are conditioned by way too late, and you learn to hide within your layers. So that being said, we create a system in ourselves that helps with the buoyancy of daily life. So I will get a little psychological, but this won't be a session, I promise. You will not be billed like this, I promise. So we all have an internal system with parts that have their own motive to keep us safe, or at least what we consider what safe means to our survival. I created parts in myself that made a story worth living through. And I hope today I can leave you with, some foundation into the importance of all your parts being welcomed in your story. So my second reflective question for you: what do you want to be known for? I know some people have heard that question before, and I still want to know, what do you want to be known for? Because in your generation, it's different. Back in the day, it was about what do you want to grow up to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? It's not relevant anymore. It's just not relevant anymore. It's what do you want to be known for? You know, Sessa, I'm definitely speaking to you. So the biggest thing is understanding your story. So when thinking about how much do you remember about your story, your own story, what position did you play in that? I often found myself as a victim. I never could see the neutrality of life or the balance of connections I made. There was always this push and pull of life. I even noticed that being William came with conditions. I feel like we can all relate to that. I found myself denying my own truths to be present in others' lives. I would put personal deposits in someone else's experience, walking away less fulfilled. I even noticed there were parts of me being activated. Honestly, there was a worthy part of me that would self-sabotage my own moments to be, and I would also be highly critical. I didn't know how long I carried this part in me until I recognized my own story. I even have a part today that will plan so much. I have a plan part in me that will plan so much that will plan myself out of the picture. There is a self-sabotage that's hidden barrier in FGL students. It's true, very true. I kind of wonder, I wonder what kind of parts you carry in your own system that made you second guess what you are made of. Being an FGLI student, there is a level of audacity, and that audacity is to be yourself in the midst of societal expectation. I'll say that again. So that audacity is to be yourself in the midst of societal expectation. There is a level of audacity that you will have to own getting through all these things. And it's interesting, personally speaking, it's interesting, but I found that in the Black community, we choose clout over merit when it matters most. And in America, it's built upon merit to bottleneck systematic upgrade. So, America is built on merit, and how that merit becomes a bottleneck in our own society. If you want to improve, or you want to become the manager, as Chris was saying, if you want to move up and you become the mentor and these things, there's a level of bottlenecking that has to occur so that you can feel like you earned it or you deserve it. I recognize that even in my own growth periods, my narrative created themes that my parts would recycle through. And the thing is that parts have motives within themes. And themes are statements that have cyclical value and are parts attached to them as a way to measure direction. So they can be considered as well, if I do this, then this. If I get this degree, I'll do this. If I do this, then this. If I do this, I'll do this. So this is achieve happiness and joy, which I've learned to realize has become a dichotomy. Think about it. Happiness is external. Joy is internal. That's why we talk about the pursuit of happiness. You pursue happiness. We're relieving ourselves from moving to get this happiness. However, joy is something that is within us because that is self-alignment. That is the power of self. So I learned that my system needed a value that I could live within. And as an FGLI student, your job is to hold the integrity of your system and learn to adapt and not assimilate. They won't teach you that in college, because college was not meant for you to know yourself in the system. It was created so you could be used within the system, right? There is no William 544 class. There is no William 205 class, right? So you get what you need, but it's not going to tell you who you are. It's not going to tell me who William is. And so this is a moment of transparency I'm hoping to give you all, because you all have the power and the ability and the autonomy to recognize who you've always been and to know your story. The power of one story can change the lives of many. So in saying that, my third reflection question is, what came first in your story, oppression or freedom? What came first in your story? Oppression or freedom? We're going to talk about creating a value system that aligns with a system unprepared for you. It's going to get spicy. So what I can honestly say is that you were born a threat, contributing to a system that wasn't prepared for you. I'll say that again. You were born a threat, contributing to a system that wasn't prepared for you. The fact that you are not seen as human enough to have the opportunity without acknowledging what you don't have means that there's already a placement occurring. You have to redefine that. It's up to you to redefine that. So a value system, let's get into this. A value system is defined as a way you put forth worth into the identity you live by. However, your parts that are in your system don't always see the bigger picture because they were formed in a moment of assumed need. So there are parts of you that were formed based upon your needs of your past stories. So how can they be present now and still be actively positive? Sometimes they might be a barrier to you. So I noticed that regardless of my degrees, my ownership, my compassion, my advocating, my serving, the scriptures I memorized, my parts would always have conditions regarding the experience. I own my own mental health company, and I still get people coming in saying they don't know if they can trust me because I have colored hair. I'm telling them, like, look, they asked me, someone literally asked me, what qualifies you to, do counseling, and you have this hair, you're wearing these, beads, and your hair looks like the color of Jadena, like, all these things, and I'm thinking, like, well, I lost sleepless nights on campus. I read a lot of books and articles. I had degrees. I'm in debt. I made this company. Is that not good enough for you? I can refer you out. And so my thing is that I can no longer subscribe to an expectation because of what someone was unable to see within me. I can't expect that. And so for me, code switching died in 2013. I learned that I'm not supposed to be at every table, and there is a table for me. And if not, I can build my own table, because there's a level of audacity being in FGLI where you just have to make it happen because you are who you're going to be. And there is no book for that. And so to be present as myself almost felt like a crime, having to accept myself. Because when I decided to be myself, there were moments where people were like shocked, or they were like, well, I thought you would contribute in the way that we expected. I'm like, I'm shocked that you thought I would. So my value system growing up was based upon the approval of others' broken mirrors. So it was never fulfilling. That's the scary thing, is the fact that my value system growing up was based upon the approval of others' broken mirrors. So my level of fulfillment was not true. So to begin making your value system, there has to be an understanding of how much, or I guess how you want to be treated and seen, but more importantly, how do you want to make an impact on yourself? That is easier said than done, right? Usually when you go to keynote speeches, they're always like, go out there and make the world a different place. Did you make your world a different place before you started entering other people's worlds? Stop emotionally colonizing people. That's not what we do. So humility helps. Please write that down. Humility helps when it comes to being yourself. So, fourth reflection question. What do I bring to the table that others are invited to? Normally, what we would ask ourselves is, well, what do you bring to the table? When someone asks you in employment, for us, you soon grads, they always ask, like, what made you want this job? I need to pay rent. But you can't say that for some reason, right? You need to say that, because eventually you're going to want an upgrade, right? Like Christopher said, an upgrade, you want to get the upgrades, you want to get the promotions, you want to get, like, what's the point of getting a promotion if you're not getting paid? You have to make your own demands, because you have to know what you need. And they don't expect FGLIs to be in a place of demand. They expect you to be thankful that we gave you the opportunity. That's not what this is. That's not what this is. So for me, the peak of humanity is autonomy. Others may disagree. I'll put my money on this. For me, humanity is nothing without autonomy. We have systems that have actively disrupted the lives of other people, that have actively and systematically have stopped and made barriers for people being themselves in the name of what? Self-righteousness, self-fulfillment, or whatever it may be. And so if we want to see the humanity in others, we have to value the choices that they make and the choices that they live by, and have the boundary to know that just because you made this choice doesn't mean I have to be a part of that. It's having that emotional responsibility and having that boundary that can allow us to be present. So as we're moving forward, the thought that humanity has to play in our lives, in our stories, in our narrative, you have to ask yourself, what part of your story made you feel aligned? We could focus, we can focus on the negative things. We do it naturally, right? We have to know how hot something is, so we remind ourselves not to touch it again, right? We have to know how hot that fire is. You don't have to keep going through these things, but however, you're living in a system that is meant to make it chronic. So to make this chronic lifestyle of dealing with a society that wasn't prepared for you, you're eventually going to create alternative behaviors or parts in yourself that are not congruent or not the same to who you truly are. And so you have all been blessed with this moment of being present with me today. And I'm blessed being present with you because it lets me know that there are people out here willing to be themselves. If that is what we've learned today, then we've won. There are not enough conferences like this that focus on this. I go to many conferences yearly, and no one talks about this. We do not talk about this kind of stuff here. And you're not allowed to talk about stuff because then it makes people feel uncomfortable because they're usually part of the system. So I won't say I Obama'd my way through where you go in, you go to the top, and then you dismantle from the top to bottom, but they're expecting you to go at the bottom and try to shake the roots of things. We've been doing that for far too long. You are educators, you are leaders, you are changers, you are yourselves. You have the power now. Now, how you use it is based upon, do you know your own story? And a lot of times, like I said before, unfortunately, we do not understand our own story. I thought I was the victim in my own story. And unfortunately, me waking up, my skin color was already a threat to people. I woke up like this, so my thing is I can't change that. But what you can change is your understanding of who I am to you, which means that the power of relationship is so imperative. So as we're wrapping up, I love talking about, the power and relationship between humanity and autonomy. And your story is defined as what you accepted and denied. So your parts have been created based upon what you believe you were allowed or oppressed by. You are born with a level of awareness that only certain folks will ever understand. Yet it is special only to you. And as a result, you have created a level of self-determination and skills that give you an edge that no one can buy. There is a level of grind and hustle that some people will never understand. They're not going to know why you spent all those late nights. They're not going to know why you had to go back and forth and redo it. They're not going to know why you have to have your cup, a mug this certain way, or why do you have to buy your t-shirts like this, or why is your what makes you who you are is the edge. And you don't have to find this golden sword or golden apple to achieve this. You were born into this uniqueness. And some people will try to profit off of that. And I'm asking you to profit off of that. Because if it's not you, it's going to be them. So, FGLI students, you have been ordained to be the X factor of this society. They will appropriate you, they will have offensive language about you, and they will take every style about you and never give the proper credit because they never earned the right to be like you. And I'm telling you, there's no perfect college, there's no perfect company, there's no perfect place for any of us. But there is you. And that's where it starts. You can join any community you want, you can join any environment you want, but understand that you have to know what your value system is. You have to know where you're coming from. And if you are going away from your family, if you're going away from old teachings and principles, that's fine. However, understand that you have to know why you're doing it. What does it mean to you? Because if you're leaving just because they're annoying or they're ignorant or they just don't get it, okay, but understand your why in that. Because there's going to be other people that are never going to understand your why. So you have to just be. Come with motive, leave with purpose. That's why I think when I'm in every institution I'm in, every place I go to, I come with motive and I leave with purpose. Because I want to make sure that I can be everything and expect nothing. I want to be everything I am and expect nothing for that because it's good and true to who I am. The system wants you to forget your story because it means they have to be responsible for coming up short, and you must be the example they didn't want to admit. Think about that. If you have to truly be who you are, that means you're going to have to make demands. You're going to have to make statements that are going to make people feel uncomfortable because they weren't prepared to be responsible for coming up short. No one wants to feel that way. No one ever wants to feel coming up short. And so take this moment today to rewrite your narrative. Your parts have created enough distraction from the self that has always been present in you. You are future ancestors. Think about that. When we talk about our ancestors, our lineage, you are future ancestors. Your generations are going to be talking about people like you. So your lineage would have never thought you would be here on electronic chat. And this is a good story to tell. You are a good story to tell. And there is no book, like I said before, that will prepare you for being who you are. So you have to write it. That's it. You have to write it. And we might cross paths again. I might write your name in my book and you might write your name in my book. And I hope I'm on the good side of your book because I'm telling you, I want to make sure that I'm on the right side of somebody's life because I love who I am. And I want you to love who you are. You deserve that. So when you write it on your terms. Make it worth every part of you that is surviving and thriving today. So before I close out, I want to thank you so much for letting me just speak briefly with you, because I want to open this up to questions and thoughts, because I said a lot of stuff and, you know, it's a lot of material. And just remember to be good to yourself and know that you are the exception to the rule. There's nothing else that can recreate what you're doing. You have to own that. And it's up to you now. So I thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak with you all. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that they are an exception to the rule. And if you really understand what that means, you're going to detach from a lot of things that were never meant for you. And you're going to use the things that you need to get to the next level. And there's somebody waiting for you to help them. And there is no other example than you. So you are a walking example that it can happen. So I believe in you. I'm open for questions. I'm open for anything you guys need to talk about. I don't like to raise hands and stuff. So if you just pop on in, you can unmute yourself. Or if a moderator wants to, pick people, but I'm out of school. So I don't want to, I hate doing the whole hand raising thing. So. I love your comments, by the way. Mm. Interesting about resumes real quick. I was just talking to a friend about that the other day, how in 2030, people are going to say, I was a Zoom moderator for 3 years at my university. And someone's like, oh yeah, I was a Google specialist, Google Meet specialist for 2 years. Like, oh, wow. Like even resumes aren't going to be the same. Like, think about that. That is, like your competency is going to be something that no other generation will have. So like, that's vital. Like to know these things that are supposed to be for everybody, So, I mean, you have to adjust. So Savannah says, what does postmodern therapy look like in practice to you? I feel like a lot of therapy in my experience, it was geared to learn to be productive through pain instead of healing. I'm so glad you said that because I am actually a postmodern therapist. I don't tell anybody that. So you got me. You win the lucky charm. So I am a postmodern. So how I explain it to people is I don't believe anything is right, wrong, good, or bad. Things just are, and we are a product of our story. It allows me to be more present with what you are experiencing rather than what you think you are. So when you come into my session, you're walking as a blank canvas and you paint it. And I ask you what's on that canvas. I take away the expectation. Pain and healing have a unique way in a postmodernistic lifestyle. So you can't heal unless you understand pain, right? Some people numb, which is like pain, but on a different level. So for me, it's really about, are you healing through your story because of what you went through or because of what you want to feel for yourself? I believe that the best therapy comes from ownership. And when you are an FGLI student, you are creating what is healing and meaningful to you. So if you're living through life, going through a society that's already putting you in a place of barrier or bottlenecking, you have to have a type of resiliency that some people are not going to understand. And so if you come off incorrect, it's going to cause problems for people. Think about that. Like there are people that are literally going to not be okay with you being okay with yourself. That's unique, right? And so we don't really tend to, when it comes to postmodern philosophy, you have to realize that your resiliency and your ability to overcome and to use other people to help you, it comes from understanding what you needed versus what you wanted, and understanding what parts of you are you still holding on to that you haven't made a relationship with. Because a lot of times the parts that we make are based upon the lack of relationship that we've had with ourselves. So, my question for you all is, what type of relationship do you want with yourself that you can feel safe in any environment? Any questions, anything? Because I could talk forever about this stuff because I love this stuff. So or if you want me to read the reflection questions back to you, I sure can do that. You want me to? Okay, I'm getting ahead now. Yes, I will do that. So the first question, well, before anything was, did you breathe today? So before you start getting, I need everybody breathing before they answer any of these questions. So did you breathe today? The first question is, what is your favorite story and how does it align with you as an adult? What was the lesson? So I'm asking you, find a memorable moment, and regardless if it was intense, good, bad, doesn't really matter, because once again, postmodernistic philosophy doesn't really care if it's what's good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just, what was your favorite story? What's one that you remember most fondly? And what is the lesson behind that? The second one is, what do you want to be known for? My favorite question, because it removes us from societal expectation and allows it to be more of a personal growth. It allows us to be more reflective on the meaning behind what we do. I realize that I love people. I love people. And I realize that I need to be able to be present with people as well. And so I found that counseling fit who I am. I'm also a professional musician, so I tour a lot, I travel a lot. I'm in a band called Morning a Black Star, which is a non-gender, non-genre conforming band. And we make music about post-apocalyptic slavery. And it's really about being known for yourself. The third reflective question is, well, before I say that, remember, happiness is external, joy is internal. So if you are trying to pursue something to make yourself feel like you're gonna make it, I would ask you very much so to look inside of yourself and say, once you have it, then what? And if you find yourself answering you're gonna go do 5 more other things, then you might be missing the point in who you are. Because we have taught in a capitalistic society that if you just keep working at it, it'll pay off. People can't even retire anymore, so it's not going to pay off. So you can't wait till retirement to figure out what is your joy. You are joy. You have to figure out what makes you feel joy. Happiness is great for a direction. Happiness is good for the ego, but not good for the marathon. You know, so keep that real with yourself. Third reflection question. What came first in your story, oppression or freedom? So with oppression and freedom, there is a level of, I guess, I made it so, you know, like this or that. I made it like that on purpose because when starting out with questions, you have to get a starting point, right? And so I usually don't do this to like the end of things, right? So when I say oppression, as a baby, you don't know you're being born into oppression. You don't know that, but your birth parents, they understand what they're going through, or they're coming from a place of survival. They don't know. And when I say oppression and I say freedom, I don't mean what's being put upon you and you allowing yourself to be free. It's really about, do you believe that your story is a story of redemption, or is it a story of choice? And so some people put themselves into your story and oppress you in that way. But then there are some people that give you a chance to choose. And where are you at in the middle of that? So I see oppression on one side, I see freedom on the other side, and I see you in the middle, because being completely free might take you away from responsibilities that are important for yourself. And being completely oppressed might make you ignorant into a world that's bigger than you. That's why I say it's so important to travel, because you realize how small you are. And so you have to create a value system that aligns with the system unprepared for you. So when you're creating that value system, it's so important to understand that what you value should be a reflection of who you are. And to know who you are, sometimes you have to remember what was really going on in your story and who you were in your own story. A lot of people don't realize who they are in their own story. And how many times you get to really think about that in life? Like, you just keep going on to the next thing, and you're conditioned to keep advancing, because that is the capitalistic system. That is our system. It's meant to push us forward so that we can be producing members of society. That's what this is all about. So humility helps, because we are also, being an X factor, you are the exception to the rule, which means that you have the ability to do kind of some unique things that other people may not feel capable of doing. That's on your own terms. And so having the humility to understand that, who am I to be responsible for someone else's inability? Who am I to show compassion for someone that never even allowed me to sit in the same space as them? There was a TED Talk, pretty much somebody that was like sympathizing with people that were misunderstood, and they were very racist, and they were trying to make this talk about how, like, we can, I can teach you how to love who I am. Why do I have to teach you to love who I am? I'm not getting paid for that. So so my thing is like, I have to teach you how to do something that I was born with. So where is this level of humility where I have to stop myself from over compromising to make sure someone's okay? Which brings to the fourth question: what do I bring to the table that others are invited to? So you have to ask yourself, are you at your own table? Are you on someone else's table? And are you providing anything, or are you receiving anything? Or are you just sitting there? Or who did you invite? Do you know who's at your table? A lot of us, we leave our own worlds to enter these collegiate level opportunities. And we tend to work so hard in this bubble that when it's time to leave, we expect that there's a level of emotional intelligence or some type of intellectual, boundary that can help us kind of deal with things. And unfortunately, that's why I love college campuses so much, because it allows us to do a lot of trial and error. Because in society, people don't have time for that. They don't have the time for that compassion. And you have to find communities or, find places like Align to actually be a part of, to know that, hey, there's people here conscious enough to try and get it. These are valuable things. And so the ultimate thing today is about humanity and autonomy through your own narrative. So I'm hoping that with talking about who you are, when I say humanity, I think about who you are designed to be. So who you are designed to be demands and deserves choice. Who you are designed to be deserves choice. And a lot of times when you're coming from a place that is a little more arduous or there's more adversity, you have to remind yourself that you have choice still. Don't allow your gratitude to lose the fire inside of you. A lot of times that gratitude makes us feel like we should humble ourselves. You have to be your biggest fan. You cannot wait for someone to applaud. Can't wait for that. It starts now. It starts today. And you have to be your biggest fan. You can't wait for someone to clap for you, because I'm telling you, you're going to be sitting on stage for a long time. And I'm telling you, there is a moment in this world. I'm telling you, like, it's real, y'all. And I almost passed out holding my breath waiting for someone to say good job. And so it's short story. I actually, when I was touring with the Temptations, and I asked one of the lead singers to give me vocal lessons, because I said, yo, this would be really cool if I get some vocal lessons. He was taught by Eddie Kendricks, and I could and he was like, well, Bowtie. Okay, so by the way, my music name is Bowtie Willie. Don't ever call me that. Okay, like, I'm only telling you all this because it's being recorded, so only you all can call me that. Okay, so he's like, Bowtie, if you ain't got it, you ain't got it. You already on stage with us, baby. I was like, but I really want these lessons. Like, I just want to say I can. He's like, you already got it. If you're here, you already got it. So my thing to you is, if you're already here and you're talking to me, you're my colleague. You're already here, and I expect the same level of execution. I believe that you all should have your own moment, your own story, your own moment, your own platform to speak your truth, to speak your need, to speak who you are. This is who you are. You have earned the right to be and do as you please. So you deserve the choice, and you deserve that. And so it's interesting that we find ourselves always battling with this inability to we're always battling with this am I good enough? Am I doing enough? Am I, the whole method, unfortunately, is the world is based upon a C-level student, right? To turn on a lamp, to pay bills, to buy things, to to ship and export things, to write a letter on in a mail, and to do these things, it requires average level of use. So the thing is that the moment you go beyond and above, the fact that you're collegiate level people and you're doing all this, it means that you are designing yourself for more. And that is so exciting. Like, it doesn't matter what it has to be. You don't have to make that decision. As long as you know who you are and you're willing to keep writing your story and understand your story, it'll come to you. It will. I work with very I work with very successful people. I work with millionaires and I've worked with homeless people, and I'm telling you, they're all the same. They're all the same. They're all the same. And honestly, it's there has to be a level of authenticity that goes with this. They're all the same. They all got problems. They all got issues. And I do not do vocal lessons. I am all horns. I play all horns. I'll do vocals, producing. I will not do no singing. Nope, not I. So you almost got me. You almost got me. I was like, so I'm just so happy that you all can take time and allow this summer break to be meaningful for you when you come back into real society, or you come back into college campuses, or you go back to another conference. Like, I'm not the one that says be unapologetic. I actually don't like that phrase. I like just be yourself and everything will fall into place. Because being unapologetic means you're trying to do something. I'm not trying to do anything but be my Black self. So I need you to be your best self. So I think that that's really what it needs to be. So I need you to be your best self and know that you come from a place that other people will never be able to write about. So I thank you all so much. Christopher, thank you so much for starting this out for me. Arissa, thank you so much. Issa, thank you so much for chatting with me. My mom is on the Zoom chat. Thanks, Mom. Yes, Mama Wash, I appreciate you. It's hilarious. Oh, the name of the band is called Mourning a Black Star. MOURNING ABLKSTAR. Mourning a Black Star. We were actually at Worcester a while back ago. Yeah, so yeah, you can see us on Spotify, the Twitters, and all the medias. Yes, all that. So yes. So I appreciate you all so much. If you guys need anything, you can always email me. You can follow me on Twitter. It's the Black Mr. Rogers. If you just need to just hit me up. I'm always willing to chat, talk about life, or if you need any help, just let me know. Oh yeah, definitely on the Discord lounge. Yes, appreciate it. So just enjoy it, y'all. Just please be good to yourself. You are the exception to the rule. You can't see the blushing because my webcam's not 4K, but I'm blushing if you did. So it's the webcam. It's the webcam.
So we have ample time for a Q&A if anyone would like to engage with William and all the great points he made throughout his keynote speech.
I just want to say thank you, William. You've been very monumental this past semester for me, and I'm glad that you could share your greatness with other people here. And shout out to Mama Washington. Oh my God.
Yeah, Mama Wash. I was like, what is my mama doing here? Like, oh my God. Thank you so much. That means a lot. I love your campus. I see so much growth. I see so much potential. And I think it needs people like you to make it more real. And I see that coming. So I hope you, wherever you do decide to go after college, I hope that you know that you need to be a voice. You need to be seen. even though I know you like to, not deal with things and ridiculousness, but I hope you do it because we need to hear your voice. There's no question too crazy, y'all. Trust me, I'm a counselor.
I was gonna say, I echo everything that Marissa said. It's been a fun time getting to know you over the past couple of weeks, and especially in this keynote. No, I cannot answer the question, and maybe that I'm refusing to actually have to encourage myself to reflect in order to answer your question about like what do I look for.
That's what it is. But once you answer that question, it's over. You're responsible. You are responsible. Once you answer that question, you are fully responsible for yourself.
And maybe I'm just trying to skirt that responsibility.
Don't tell me you're having a young midlife crisis. You're not trying to like deal with that. Don't do that.
Yeah, but thank you so much.
Angela.
Sorry if y'all hear a lot of noise in the background. But my question is, as someone who, first gen, I know we all go with that, but I think the world has always, kind of taught us from a young age that it's survival over likes. And we were talking about don't wait that long to find like a hobby and all of that. But like, even if you know what you want to do, it still goes back to survival. And there are some things that, unless you're at the top, you're not really going to be making anything at the end of the day. So I just wanted to know, do you have any advice regarding that for those of us who have, how do you say, unattainable? That's what they say. I'm not necessarily saying it's unattainable, but I'm saying like what society has branded like only for a few people to kind of achieve. What are some advice you have towards that?
It's all a lie. People think like honestly, it's all a lie. Like I've been in situations where like I'm looking at these billionaires and I'm like part of these like Amazon execs and these things, and it's like, what did you do? Like you think about like I call it this is the toaster strudel example. There's somebody that is a millionaire for making toaster strudels as delicious as they are. Isn't that ridiculous? Like there is somebody that we're buying, we buy it for like $5-6, but there's somebody there that's really making a lot of money off of that, and so having that hobby or that thing or that, a lot of successful people in that type of area, they're just doing the same thing, but they're just doing it a lot. They're doing it a lot. And the thing is to find out what is for you. It's letting go of, it's literally letting go of what you think you should be. It goes back to, what do you want to be known for? And like a lot of people that are really like famous for what they do, what they actually do is they just do what they love to do a lot, and other people notice them. That's what happens. And then they just want to share it. And so like, of course you have marketing companies, you can have like, companies that can help like brand your stuff and things like that. But like, whether I was getting paid $1 or I was getting paid $1 million doing counseling, I would still be doing it. Whether or not I was playing, I played trombone, like that's the least sexiest instrument. I should have played saxophone or something cool looking, like there is this level of like, I love it because I love it. And other people recognize it. And then it allowed things to actually like, keep going forward. I know, Chris, I'm sorry. I had to talk about the trombone because it's my baby instrument, and so like there is that moment where you just have to love what you do. And it can be something as simple as learning a card game. Like I learn something once a month. So, so how do I remind myself of my own, of my own advice? I go back to simplicity. Never forget how to play. Never forget how to play. That is the first thing we learn as children. And that's when we're also our smartest, because we're able to learn so much crap. And, it's ridiculous how much we learn. So like, if you forgot how to play, go back and start doing things that remind you, well, this used to be fun. And then you're going to go back to it. It may not actually be fun anymore, but there is a level of joy or excitement that comes back to going back to something familiar. Use that energy to promote into something else. Like, you couldn't have told me when I was in 6th grade trying to figure out what instrument I wanted to play that I would be playing it at the age of 31. I would have never thought this. I would have never thought I'd be traveling around the world playing music. I was like, I hate this thing. It smells, and I had to finish my math homework. And like, that was my mindset. Like, nobody's thinking that they're going to be what they thought they were going to be. That's why I said it in the beginning. I was like, you would have never thought. So remember to always play, and it's just, if you forget how to play, you're forgetting who you are. So get back to that. Just get back to that, and you deserve to play again. There were no, like, some of the best games were because you understood the rules. That's why video games are so fun. Without the rules, the video games would make no sense. Like playing tag, if you didn't understand how to beat it, tag would be boring. So you got to understand the rules, So like you have to understand the rules to win, And so being somebody that has to keep going, you have to keep believing in what you're playing with.
Someone in the chat asked, how do you remind yourself of your advice? Do you mind sharing your aha moment for coming to these practices and thoughts?
Yeah, I sucked enough. I was, that was the thing. Like, you have to know, like, there has to be a place, a moment in time where, like, you got to remember, like, it's 50-50. Either you're going to be good at it or you're not. And then you got to make it a choice. If I'm not good at it, am I going to keep trying to get good at it? And if I'm good at it, how can I move forward? I always say, educate what you're passionate about. So for me, I was gifted in music. I didn't know I was. But once I realized I was gifted in music, where it came easier to me, I decided to go get education with it. I love people. I love helping people. Oh, let me try to educate myself with that. I went to counseling. So there are other ways to do it, though. I could have went to the Peace Corps, or I could have, joined, the military, or I could have did a way to serve other people or figured out a way. But I found counseling more my personality. So then when I go to conferences, it's like looking at little Williams, or like older Williams. It's like, oh, okay, the person's like me. They're drinking tea randomly at a conference. Great. I'm not the only guy. Like, that feels good. So it's unique how, like, you'll find it when you start believing in you and what you like to do. And then when you can share it with somebody else, it becomes more meaningful. That's why sharing art and sharing music and just sharing these things and sharing life and stories, some of the best inspiration is hearing other people's stories, like, that matters. So I definitely believe in that. Thanks for moderating for me, Cesar. I appreciate that. You're great.
Yeah. Cameron, do you want me to read your comment, or would you like to ask your question?
I can read it. So I was asking about your first reflection question, was asking us our favorite story and how it aligns with us as adults. That ultimately made me think of just like inner child healing in general. And so I know for myself, part of my experience, and maybe other FGLI students, is that we lose some of our childhood moments, childhood experiences, just from them being like overshadowed by adult-like responsibilities. And so I was wondering if you had advice for honoring your inner child while also still trying to grow into your adult self and making sure that you're aligning who you once were with who you're becoming.
That's such a great question. So one, I'll post this real quick. That is a colleague of mine who helps with emotional intelligence, and she does an amazing job with learning how to play again and to remind yourself of that. But as far as your inner child, understand that your inner child is always developing. So consider it like riding a car, and it's like the child's riding the car, and then like the middle child comes in, and then the adult child, like they're all in the same, everybody's in the same car. Everybody is all there. And now it's just a matter of, do you trust that child with the wheel? And so the thing about that is that you have to accept that there are child parts of you that matter. And as the adult part of you, or the self of you, also has to recognize how important it is to let them be seen. A lot of times we don't allow the child part of us to be seen because we've been taught that the child of us shouldn't be seen or heard. They should just do the work. So my question goes back to you, and it says, what aren't you allowing your child to do? I'm not putting you on the spot, but that is literally what it is. What is that? What are you not allowing that child to experience or feel? Because now it has an adult to use. Is it because it can use the adult part of you? The adult part of you is just a tool to experiencing the life of you. So honor it by acknowledging the parts of you that are present, that do come out when you're around other people, other things, and places. And is it there? That's a great question. You ask great questions. What's your focus in education?
I'm a biochemistry and Spanish double major.
I got nothing. All right. I got nothing. All right. That was real. I would love to hear that story. Right? That narrative. See, there's a lesson in that.
Of course, anytime.
Yes.
We still do have time, folks, and feel free to just unmute yourself. No need to raise your hand.
Of course. I'm here for you all. I have like 3 questions in my mind I wanted to ask, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Go for it. Go for it.
All right.
Maybe I'll respond.
Right. Yeah. You know what? That would be nice. I finally get an answer. That would be great. So my question is, what haven't you told yourself that other people are telling you?
Everyone's reaction on the screen.
Like, why we lose participants? No, I'm saying.
Why is everyone up in the count?
Right now, you look. Now it goes. So, what haven't you told yourself that other people are telling you? One of my biggest focuses is emotional responsibility. We do not take the time out to understand what we are responsible for in other people's lives. Angela, that question scares me too. That's why I was wondering if I should ask it, because we have to be conscious of what we have learned without actually learning it. One of the few things I liked about Freud was his Freudian sublimation. It's where you choose a profession that honors a behavior you're not proud of, right? So, like, let's say if you like hurting things, you decide to become a surgeon so that you can be respected because you like to open things up and you like to do like open things up. So people think you're respectful because, you're a surgeon, you worked really hard and you have these degrees. And then, but the truth is that you're finally fulfilling something that you weren't accepted by. There's a lot of people out here that do jobs and professions that are only feeding not being seen for who they are because they were unwilling to be accepted for that. Yes, repressive desublimation. Yes. So think about how many people think about how many authority figures or deans or colleagues that seem slightly defensive around you or very high strong towards you. And it makes you wonder, what did you go through to make you feel like you could say this to me? That's emotional responsibility, right? Because I didn't feel any way about you. I live on campus. So, it's that kind of mindset. So what did you go through to make you feel like this towards me? And a lot of us don't ever want to really talk about that part. I know that there are probably a lot of parents that I would love for you to ask your parents or your guardians, what did you go through that made you want me to have a better life than yours? What did you go through that made you want me to have a better life than yours? That's like, that is you'll start realizing how human your parents and relatives are. Because a lot of times we grow up looking up to them, and then we see them as just human. It takes away the thought that they could be more. And sometimes, unfortunately, I don't say this often to people, but your parents do have a limit. They can only be so parent enough for you. They're meant to be human. And so what part are you not letting go of them so that they can just finally be themselves? Because some people get so embarrassed that they can't parent you anymore, that they just go back to old stories or old things about you, you know, or things that just aren't true anymore. Like, you're a grown-up now. You pay taxes. It's real. Like, you can go to jail for not doing taxes now. Like, that's a real thing. Like, they can't help you. So it's, you know, so there's a level of adulthood in you that even has to become more responsible. And honestly, being an FGLI student, like, there is a level of responsibility that you have to take in your own hands that no one can dig you out of. And you're going to find like minds to help you get along the way. But you have to know that your stance is only going to open up another door for somebody else. It's true. I used to hate that statement when people would go, you know, like, hey, you're opening doors for other people, you're paving the way. I'm like, I'm not trying to pay, I'm trying to live. I'm trying to pay my bills. Like, I'm not trying to, like, I'm just trying to live right now. But I realized looking back that there are so many people that have entered my door, but then gone their own way. There's usually, I pick like 3 or 4 people a year I work with on a year heavily. And when they come through my door, they don't become what I become. They don't become what I do. They become their own thing. So it's interesting that just because you're paving a way doesn't mean they have to go on your road. Sometimes they just want to know what your road was so that they can detour and they can do their own thing, you know? And so we have to really understand the responsibility of ourselves in this community. Any other thoughts, feelings? Sorry, my counseling came out. I just get quiet and look at things for a long period of time. I'm sorry, y'all. I gotta work on that. I wanted to express such gratitude. I think that there's a level of emotional intelligence that FGLI students have that like I said before, you can't teach it. And there's like this like resiliency that you have, that you kind of just like throw stuff over your shoulder and you keep it moving. And you're just like, I could pop off, but I really just want to go through the day. Like, there's just moments where you just like, you could really call things what it is because you've already been through enough. So it's like anything that seems like the past, you get a little more defensive about because you're like, I know how this goes, and you just kind of tolerate it. I don't want you to emotionally callous yourself. Not emotionally callous yourself. I would say acknowledge a difference to make a difference. And so like, if I feel like you have a choice, right? Like time stops and you're like, I can either call this out, but then this will happen. If I do this, then this will happen. And like, you play that in your head often because you understand what might jeopardize in your safety of getting here, right? You have this support and you have this financial funding, you have these things that help you move forward. However, it's like, I'm not gonna be treated this way. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so like, where do you find where does the line draw? You know? And so a lot of times for me, I recommend acknowledging the difference to make a difference. So if someone says something that's completely like not insensitive, but just sounds like they just aren't about that life, the FGLI life. I say, I noticed that you're saying this and it makes me feel like this, but I don't really know how to respond to you. What do you think I should do? I made them become the experts of their own life, because obviously you thought not being in control of yourself was okay. Like, I've really been in meetings and conferences where I would say, you know, the way you said this made me think of this. However, I wanted to make sure that what you said was understood correctly. Let me know if I was wrong. So I allow you to indirectly correct me, even though you were meant to be corrected. That's helped me move through a lot of my own barriers. I won't say I've ever walked out of a job, but I've definitely stood my ground and have made my own superior, you know, managers and all those rethink what they think creating a safe space is like, right? Like one of the most triggering things for me is when people say we're in a safe space. And I'm at a place where I'm getting paid at, or I have to be here. Like, usually safe spaces don't have a cost or like a type of like obligation. Like, this is a mandatory meeting, so like I don't understand how safe this can be, because if it's safe, I wouldn't be here. So my thing is make sure that the safe spaces that you create are genuine to your own authenticity. If you have to discuss what being a safe space is, re-examine the criteria of your space. You know, some organizations have to do that just because, you know, it's professional and ethical. But just on a real tip, my safe space is I am a safe space. I don't have to explain that, because I understand the responsibility of what it's like to be me with you. Right? Like, I'm willing to be wrong and correct it and then keep going. So the golden rule here is it's not what I think, it's how you feel. That is the golden rule, right? They have like that one golden rule is like, you know, do unto others as you would do yourself, whatever. My phrase is, it's not what you think. It's not what I think, it's how you feel. So it doesn't matter what I think, it's how you feel. Even if I don't agree with it, it is how you feel about it. And then I'm going to make you explain yourself about why you feel that way. And then through your own explanation, you might understand why I asked you that. Because a lot of times I've had to make white people feel comfortable for who they are by asking them that question. Because they didn't want to feel, because they appropriated some things and they said some things that were a little edgy. And I said, well, tell me how you feel about that. And once they told me how they felt about that, they apologized, because then they realized the background to that was just completely offensive. So it's not what I think, it's how you feel, and asking them, well, what made you feel that way? So sometimes, I just got blocked on Facebook from somebody because they got mad that I called them ignorant. They were more upset that I called them ignorant than actually explaining why I called them ignorant. It was about Kid Cudi wearing the Kurt Cobain dress and awareness for suicide and depression, and you know how artists often lie to themselves, or they go through this addiction and they don't get it acknowledged, and then things happen. And so people were mad that Kid Cudi wore the dress that Kurt Cobain used. And they're like, how could you do this? How could he wear a dress? I can't believe that he would do that. And I was like, but do you understand why? You sound ignorant. And then they blocked me. So sometimes you just have to, you know, ask, well, why do you feel that way? Because some people aren't ready to be responsible for themselves. Emotional responsibility. So keep that in mind. That's very, very important. Especially when you're all going to be in higher places coming up too. So that's going to be a theme that's going to be consistent. Hope any some of this is hidden for y'all, because I try to make it universal enough. So
I may not be answering, but it'll be hidden. So let's see here. Does anyone happen to have any questions for William? If not, we can slowly begin to transition out.
Oh, my pops is in here. Hey, Frost, he's a poet. That's just really wow. Everybody just here. All right.
I think it's okay for us to start wrapping up. Marissa, just saw your message. I just want to say thank you to everyone. This is a very informal closeout. So any Worcester Aligned committee members, feel free to add anything. Thank you all so much for joining us for the closing session. I know I thoroughly enjoyed William's keynote speech. It was phenomenal, and I'm very thankful that I get to interact with him very frequently. I will send out a recap email by the end of this week, and in there I'll kind of attach William's website so you can find more information about how to reach out to him and get into contact. And we'll do the same for all our other keynote speakers, but I'll pass it over to any other Worcester Line committee members who would like to help me in closing this out.
I think this was a great session to end the conference on. It's very reflective, empowering in a good way, honoring ourselves as first generation and our limited income students, but then also the faculty or staff that go out of their way that have either experienced themselves or are champions of students who are going through these experiences. And so I just want to again echo what Caesar said and thank William so much, because this was such a great speech to listen to and very reflective. And I think personally, FGLI students, as you mentioned, like we don't always have that time to like sit down and reflect, or we ignore that time on purpose and fill it with other things. And so, it was very humbling and like affirming and validating to hear, which I think is something that we all need after a weekend of sharing narratives and dialogue and understanding where we're coming from with multiple identities within the FGLI framework. So again, thank you for that. Caesar is going to go ahead and drop a Discord link for around 2:30 p.m. where if people want to decompress after this event and have some aftercare thoughts where we discuss or just kind of have a presence with everyone, you're more than welcome to join. Again, we will be providing contact information for all of our keynote speakers, as well as their emails and websites. As you can see, William is one of Worcester's favorite speakers. He's been used for so many different events.
I love that school. What?
Highly recommend. Got so much from him every time I hear students are like, it's amazing. And it truly is. So thank you for that. And then we just hope that you all can join the Discord. And thank you for attending Align, the 5th annual conference for 2021. Virtual conference spaces are hard to engage with already. And then you pair that with hard topics, sharing, being vulnerable, sometimes telling things that are a little traumatic or sharing that openly. And so we just want to thank all of you for being courageous for sharing your experiences, or even just listening, because that also helps to hear people what they're going through and how it might overlap with you. So thank you, everyone.
Be on the lookout for our recap email. That'll have links to any of the recordings we were able to take over the course of this weekend once we develop a plan to distribute those.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. My camera's off because when I say my makeup is running, my makeup is running. This is very validating. I feel very held by this session. We will be in the Discord. In particular, a lot of people are talking about like the FGLIQ and the Reclaiming 2021 sessions. Those are very productive. I hope we can keep talking about them. And thank you for delegating so much time to this conference, everyone.
I will be ending the meeting in a bit. See you all in the Discord. I will give people instructions on how to join the visual channel.